Why won't a government do that? Those people that are going to harass cadets and officers in NDA, they live around the place. I know NDA very well. I was in Georgia, I was in NDA as young officers, and I know the area very well. They live around the place. So why can't you put up a blimp that can see what they are doing in real time and eliminate them? Why won't you do that?
In fact, there were more details saying that some persons slept up, but we'll come to that, hopefully. Markwe has got some questions for you. Markwe, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Chamberlain. Much as we're looking at it looks like we're looking at the remote causes. The immediate causes, I think, is what is worrying a lot of people in terms of the significance of the attack. For some people, they're wondering, what do you think were the bandits trying to pass home a message when they chose the National Defense Academy as the area of the attack? I mean, as the area they decided to attack. Because normally people know that military installations, for instance, if you were to, I mean, you've talked about how the military institutions are usually open to the public on Fridays. There'll be questions as to this attack did not happen on a Friday, it happened on a Tuesday. So the guards were supposed to have been up. So there'll be questions as to what happened, how was the perimeter breached, what about the guards that are usually mounted on, watchtowers, what were they doing? Were they asleep? There'll be areas where there are CCTV cameras. What happened in those areas as well? There are huge questions around around that. And then the significance, what gave these bandits the audacity, the temerity to be able to say, this is going to be the area we want to attack today? Do you have any questions roaming in your head in terms of, what were they trying to really achieve beyond? Because some people say this is not about ransom. Maybe they want to take a ransom, yes, maybe. But it looks like they were trying to send home a message.
Yeah, thank you, Markwe. You just got it right. They just want to send a message. And this is what terrorists do. And what the Buhari government should do is to tag these people as terrorists. What they want to do is to send a message to create fear and to show the military that we can come for you and there's nothing you can do. You may not know, I don't know whether it's out in the news, that the major has been killed. Belongs to some groups, and I know about 3 hours ago his body was found. He has been killed. So it's not about ransom. I just want to confirm to Markwe that she is right. It's not about ransom. They just want to pass a message. We can come in. We can do what we need to do. And there are some hardliners in this government that are sponsoring this kind of narratives. They just want to show that they can Islamize this country. They think about Taliban. They think about the Mujahideens. And they want to replicate it in this country. And they don't care what happened. They simply don't care. As long as at the end of the day, there's Sharia and there is whatever thing they have in their head they want to achieve. So these people that are sending messages are sponsored by Nigerians. I'm sorry if I could follow up on that quickly. Please go ahead.
This part of what you just spoke about now, the security agencies gleaned this from those who they arrested over time, saying this is the intention.
Absolutely. The intention of it's on the internet. So it's not even about the people we interrogated. The intention is to Islamize Nigeria and practice Sharia. And it doesn't matter if some people die. It doesn't matter if you're embarrassed. It doesn't matter if our economy has degenerated. Look at the interest rate. Look at the inflation rate. Look at the debt profile of Nigeria. They don't care. As long as at the end, the Quran is at the sea. So some people in this country have this mindset. And we must tell the truth. If you tell the truth, you die. If you don't tell it, you die. Some people have this mindset to Islamize the nation. and they're in the government. And people know them. The DSS know them. The NIA know them. The DIA knows them, because it is the DIA that conducted the operations that arrested these sponsors. So they know them. Why is the government, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces?
The general area of Afaka, where where the NDA is cited, is no stranger to this sort of attacks. Before now, I mean, a few other institutions around the Defense Academy have also been attacked. Talking about the Institute of Agriculture and Forestry, Mechanized Division, something to that effect. I can't remember the exact name of the institution now, but we do know that they have been around this area. Now, I'm looking at the front page of Daily Trust newspapers, and they have this: why NDA security was compromised. And the first writer says, bandits leave peacefully. Peacefully is in parenthesis, near academy. There have been questions before now that sometimes, you know, this happened in Jos, around Rukuba, that, there were attacks happening in the neighboring area, and that the military institutions did nothing. The same thing happened when there were attacks on the airport, the airport's residential area in Kaduna. That was very close to the Defense Academy. They did nothing. They attacked the forestry school in Kaduna. They did nothing. Now they have finally come for them, but the talk is that these people have been there all along. They never went anywhere. The bandits who perpetrated this attack have been there all along. Does the military really need, I mean, if this is something that is of concern to the security agencies, because it was only a matter of time from what it would seem that we're reading that these attacks were going to happen, did they really need to wait this long before they took action against people they knew were a security threat to not just them, but also the people around their environment?
Yeah, Makwe, I may also shock you that some cadets have been abducted before now. And when they took these cadets away, and they demanded for ransom, as low as 400,000 naira at that time, the cadets were released after the ransom were paid. And the cadet told them that where they took them to, that they could hear the parade going on in NDA, that they were not taken far away from NDA, that every morning they hear the parade and the programs going on in NDA while they were in the camp of the terrorists. You are right. These people live around NDA. It's about social-cultural issue. As long as you're a Muslim and you speak Fufude or Hausa, you can do whatever you like and fraternize with the military and go in and out of the barracks. You are saying that the attack did not happen on Friday. Of course, it will not happen on Friday, but they have enough time to carry out surveillance. They have enough time to have insiders that will work with them. The problem is that journalists should go around our military institution this Friday and carry their cameras and see the decadence, the security breach that goes on every Friday in all military institutions across Nigeria, and tell the Minister of Defense to put a stop to that. The defense institutions, they are sacred. They are not where people can come on Friday, throw open the gate because they want to come and do Jumat. The truth is that on Sundays, we don't have such, invasion of our premises by Christians to come and pray or to come and do whatever on Sundays. But for the 35 years I spent in the military intelligence, if you go to Tego Barracks in Apapa, it's the same. The Tego Barracks is where I was trained as an intelligence officer. It's the same. On Friday, they will troop in. They throw it open. It's religion. And because we must think about solution. The Minister of Defense should stop this. They should make pronouncement and stop it. Every Friday, people should go to various mosques around them to pray and maintain the sanctity of our military institutions. That's what
So
I
I wanted to know if this has been an issue before now. I mean, has this been anything that, you know, the people at the top in the military have found as a source of concern? Let me raise an instance. For instance, we know that at almost every security institution, even on the roads here in Abuja, before you can enter the same road that leads to any military institution is divided in two. There are huge barricades to prevent anybody from just entering, so to speak. This became a source of concern for the military, in terms, especially after the attacks on the police headquarters. Has this been a source of concern for for the top brass of the military to say, hey, look, if we're taking these steps to put barricades, then this is also going to be a source of concern for us. What can we do about it? Have they elevated this discussion?
At defense headquarters, every Monday, even if you go this Monday coming, you will see they are always there to discuss intelligence and security brief. We discuss all topics there, including the issue of Muslims gathering every weekend. All those barriers you see at defense headquarters. And that's why I'm talking to the media. They should go there on Friday. The barrier is no longer there. It's open because it is Jumat. And this is when they come to carry out surveillance. If you look at what happened in Mogadishu Barrack, it was the same. That was the time they went there and blasted the place and killed a lot of people. It's these same people that are allowed to have access on Fridays and become members of the mess because they are, you know, it's a social-cultural issue. So I think we should begin to look, the Minister of Defense should put an end to this, because for 35 years of my stay in the military intelligence, it has been the case. Both Naval institution, Airforce institution, Army institutions, even the Department of State Services. Once it's Friday, the gates are thrown open, and people come from outside, and there'll be no space. They'll be all over. If you go to Defense Secretary on Friday, this Friday, you see them littered everywhere.
If I could just comment now. I mean, this conversation is usually quite tricky. I mean, people listening, some might take different perspectives to it, thinking, oh, is this a religious thing? Is this an ethnic thing? They ask, is it only Muslims you have in the military? Is it only people from this certain cultural, heritage that you have in the military? And I'd like us to tackle the issues. You have mentioned what you have called the core, as it were, of the problem. How do we tackle this without viewing it from a religious spectrum, an ethnic spectrum? Because you know well, Nigeria is quite, polarized across, these groups, ethnicity and religious. How do we tackle it without coming off as though you're inciting people, on those lines?
You see, one thing I discovered in this country is that when it comes to religion, everybody is very sensitive. But the fact I have laid bare is from the experience of 35 years of military intelligence. So I'm not coming to the air to whip up sentiments, no. I have been in the system. I work with Abacha government. I work with Babangida government. I work with Abdul Salam. I work with Yar'Adua Obasanjo. As a core insider of operations, I belong to a group of people that you are not supposed to see, people that you are not supposed to hear. Because we have 3 classes of military officers. I belong to the wars group. I lost my family because my family does not have to know where I have been, where I have gone, and I cannot talk. I've seen Kunle Olawunmi here, I've seen Stan Lambo. Some of us belong to that group that we are not supposed to be seen, and we are not supposed to be heard. The truth I'm telling you now is not about sentiment. Is that there are a group of people in this country that feels that this country should be Islamized. This is a fact. Except you want me to start mentioning names of people in this government that we have interrogated. I was a member of an interrogation team. And I've interrogated a very high-ranking member of this government in 2007, 2008 on the issue of Boko Haram. I interrogated him. He's in this government right now. And what was the issue? Boko Haram. And this senior officer was actually let go because he was found culpable. But right now he's in the government. You see, we must say the truth, because if you don't, this country is going down the precipice. We have been set back more than 60 years right now. We've gone back to the time before 1966 now. And whoever is coming back to repair this country has a lot of work to do. This country has never been polarized, so we cannot run away from it. We have never been this much polarized. I'm a federal person. My mind is federal. My brain is federal. My loyalty is federal. I do things for the federal government. So I cannot come here and try to be sentimental. No, I'm a federal person.
So will your life be at risk now that they're hearing you?
I don't care. I don't care. And my colleagues, they know me. Those people that are listening to me, they know me. I don't care. The issue is that this country is bigger than an individual. That is the issue. This country is bigger than individuals. Buhari will come and go. Eliminating me or killing me will not solve the problem. And will not add value. But he will come and go. And somebody must come and repair the damage to the psyche of this society, the damage to the polarization, to the nepotism that I've never seen in my life. I work with all these presidents. This is the worst situation I've found myself. And believe me, internet does not forget. I was part of the people that helped to bring Buhari to government because I believe in him.
Have you worked with the government after that?
After
you helped bring the government?
Oh, of course, I worked with him. We brought him in 2015, and I work as the Deputy Director of Defense Administration. And we have a lot of hope in him. And we actually are ready to do anything for him. What he has turned out over the years is shocking to us. I was in Harvard in 2014. In December, when the Department of State Services and CIA and others were contemplating about Buhari and other aspirants. I know what we did to convince the American government that the only person that can come and put this country right is Buhari. That was before the Lagos APC, before they chose within.
Right.
And that was how Tinubu came in. We know what we did, but what he has done in the past 6 years is shocking. It's unprecedented. And it should not be allowed to be swept under the carpet because the damage to the psyche of this country is monumental.
We'll talk more on this, but pardon me, we've kept Mr. Alfred Ononuju waiting. He's a security consultant and a forensic investigator as well. Good morning, and pardon us, we just had to explore some of these positions. So, you've been listening in to what's being said, and then perhaps also read and updated yourself with the current situation concerning that scenario with the NDA. What do you think?
First, let me thank my dear brother as a patriot. He's speaking not to impress anybody. He's speaking as a patriotic Nigerian. He's also expressing his experience at times in service to Nigeria as a nation. May I also condole with the families of the officers and men that were brought down during this attack. It's pathetic. To say it's unfortunate is to make light the issue of what is happening to us as Nigerians and what is happening to Nigeria. The least of our aspirations and expectations was to find ourselves where we currently are, as a people. It's worrisome that there has been this, unseriousness about tackling the identified threats. And I believe that one of the solemn pledge of any officer is to protect the territorial integrity of our country. Now, when these territorial integrities are being flagrantly held with contempt and invaded with impunity, I think something must have given way. And there doesn't seem to be a response, a measured response to some of these threats as expected from people under oath, from people who have sworn to protect and defend the territories of Nigeria. Having said that, frankly, I want to thank you for allowing the veteran to just take us down the line. And I think he's been one of the most courageous Nigerians I've met in my entire life. So I give you my compliments, sir. We are worried. I'm a father, I have children, and I'm sure most families are concerned. When you put it side by side with the stories coming from the Middle East, particularly the Afghan story, the invasion of the Defense Academy is a signature too loud. It's something that we do not have an explanation for. And I expect that a couple of things should happen. One of which is that I think the National Assembly, if they are not compromised, should look at the options of impeaching the president. I'm sorry, I'm an APC member, but I think when it comes to the safety of the land, too many things have happened, and they're becoming too frequent that if anyone that truly loves Nigeria is not angry or upset, then the person must be a hypocrite. The person must be a saboteur. Secondly, I also feel that the structure of the Nigerian security should be reviewed. Now, we are going to be careful in making statements because we're in the public platform, being that things people say could be either misinterpreted or taken out of context. However, the truth must be said. We are facing a very dire situation. From a criminal intelligence perspective, it is very unhealthy for a nation of over 200 million, and with the strength of army that is in excess of possibly 200,000-300,000, to sit, watch as these people invade our space.
And Mr. Olawunmi, pardon me, if I can jump in as well. I mean, you were right when you said they could misinterpret certain things. In fact, they could even misinterpret your call because, I mean, you're a security person and you're talking politics to the National Assembly. So let's leave politics for them to do what they have to do in politics. But speaking about security, now that this has happened, of course, they'll tell us there'll be investigation. They'll look through what's going on. So having heard what Commodore has said, do you think that they can actually be a solution? Will they hit a brick wall, or do we expect any results from any investigation that will be going on?
Well, it will be impossible to think of a solution outside politics because the policymakers are the politicians. They run the show. The president is a democratically elected president. So he depends on not only his political interests, but also structures of the government, which is under the authority of political establishments. So the solution will come from two ways. First is that we have to, like general said, we have to identify where the problem is coming from. And he captured it very well. We are suffering from ethno-religious invasion of the establishment. When we eliminate the unbearing influence of religion and ethnicity in our systems, then I think we begin to promote patriotism. Now, patriotism can never thrive when religious and ethnic superiority, is in front of the banner. So we need to, first of all, look at the moral engagement. We need to come back to the table. And I think this preference to those who are crying and calling for restructuring in the country, because where we are, it favors a section of the religious interest more than the other. So what we're going to see is a systemic elimination of each other from the two ends, and then it will boil down to ethnic conflict. Because when you kill somebody that is a Muslim, he comes from an ethnic group, maybe he's a Fulani, or he's Hausa, or he's Yoruba, or Igbo Muslim, then it will trigger a chain of reactions. Now, if you kill a Christian, like the major that was taken, I understand he has a Christian background. So connotations and all kinds of innuendos and all kinds of things will be coming in. So we are sitting on a dangerous platform. The solution for...
Pardon me to jump in on this. On the lighter note, there's a problem that came from me, actually. I mistakenly called you Ononuju instead of Ononugbo, and thank you for understanding that it was an honest mistake.
That's okay.
Thank you for that. Well, let me bring it back to Commodore. Looking at the narrative out there, they got in by 1 a.m., these terrorists, which sometimes they call them bandits, and now you look at the entire procedure, how this attack was carried out. And then they also said that those who were supposed to be manning the CCTV were sleeping at that time. So if you look at all this chain of events, what does that tell you?
Yeah, I think, when you come to tactical operations, the most important element for us is surprise. It doesn't matter whether they slept off, whether the people that are supposed to be... at that time, 1 a.m., they know that they can achieve the element of surprise. Even if after 30 minutes of their invasion of that environment, it will take a lot to be able to respond to such an attack. So don't start looking for who to blame or who to...
It's just with a view to correct some of these things. Are they supposed to be sleeping in the first place, manning CCTV cameras?
For an attack, I've conducted attack in Niger. I've conducted attack in Angola. You see, no matter how fortified an environment is, no matter how foreign it is, if you can achieve the element of surprise, you win. I know NDA very well. I know the security architecture. Even if by that time, 1 a.m., they want to respond to that, I know the process. The weapons are in the armory. You need to go and open the armory and start signing. The bandits is not going to allow that to happen. They continue to fire and continue to follow up. And you cannot respond. Any response, you are going to be caught by bullets. So it's not about what happened at 1 a.m. Gentlemen, it's about what has been happening for the past 2 years, 3 years, where these people have been having access, unfettered access to NDA.
So
and they carry out their surveillance, and they know the right time to strike. It's about 2-3 years back. It's not about now. So anybody that wants to investigate this issue should not look at now. They should look at what has happened in the past 2 years, 3 years, how porous the place has been, and try to mitigate it.
Two issues I'd like to quickly raise. First, do you also agree with the theory of insider collaboration for this to have happened in such brazen manner?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no... I mean, we do operations like this too. And there's no way we can succeed without somebody inside. We must compromise somebody inside, either through blackmail or through incentives. Maybe we give money, or we blackmail the person, or we try to indoctrinate that person. We can't succeed without an inside person. And this attack you saw has insiders collaboration. I mean, I've investigated cases like this over the years. And I know 60% of the time, when you send an attack like this, there's an insider there.
So until that insider is fished out, we might have this sort of attack again and again.
It will always happen. There will always be insiders. If you look at the intelligence estimate globally, there are two variations. The variables are the hostile intelligence service, which is external to that country, and the domestic subversive organizations that is embedded in that country. Nothing evil can happen to a nation without the insider within that nation collaborating with the hostile intelligence services that is outside. It will always happen.
If I could just raise this other part. In the statement that was put out, the term unknown gunmen was used 3 times, the 3 paragraphs: unknown gunmen, unknown gunmen, unknown gunmen. Prior to this time, people called them bandits, some even called them terrorists. But is it instructive for you that it was a term unknown gunmen that was used?
It's deliberate. You know, I'm sorry to say that the media is part of our problem.
No, I'm talking about the statement from the academy itself, actually.
The academy also have to use that word to avoid reprimand from the higher authority. I was the commandant of Defense Intelligence College, and I know that at that time there are things I cannot say. If you term them terrorists, it carries a lot of weight, and you can be reprimanded for that as a commandant of NDA. So he's going to be very careful to keep on using that same term that is safe to use, because there are legal and other implications when you term a group terrorists. But I want to say on this channel that those people are terrorists. And if the government of Buhari is serious about putting an end to what we are saying, he must pronounce them terrorist organization. Because once he does, it carries a lot of weight. And the reaction of the armed forces, where I belonged to before, will be completely different.
What was the point you were going to make about the media?
There is nothing that is going on today that is not actually tainted by the media.
How?
And that is why I have to come here and make bold to say what I've said. The media also know 80% of what I've said now, but they will not publish it. They know. I work with journalists. I was Deputy Director of Foreign Liaison at Defense Intelligence Agency. I work with journalists. I was Commandant Defense Intelligence College. I work with journalists. I train journalists in intelligence operations. They know. So why are they not also saying the obvious that will help the security and safety
at that
and
time,
progress of this country?
So at that time that you worked with the journalists and training them and doing all of that, did you give them permission to publish your name as a source if they were going to go to press with those details?
Oh, I did. It was a policy because, you see, when I was made the commandant of Defense Intelligence...
No, because, you had said that you belonged to a group that was not supposed to have been heard or seen. Yeah. So how did you give them permission to publish your name?
Yeah, because at that time I was holding a different appointment. I've held a lot of appointments in the military. There are certain appointments I will hold that has no connotation with intelligence at all. For example, I was the Chief of Staff Logistic Command for the Navy. That appointment has nothing to do with intelligence. I was a defense advisor to Nigeria in France. It has nothing to do with intelligence. So there are times I hold appointments and I have to deal with journalists. And I must tell you, I can mention some of them, Mohammed of NTL, I trained them because I wanted them to understand that military intelligence is not like a cult. I exposed some aspect.
Even though most of their documents are usually top secret and they tell you you can't publish or even access the document, even if you see it by mistake.
No. There are places you process top secret. I mean, if you want to talk about document security, it's a lecture of itself. You have unclassified materials, you have confidential materials, you have secret materials, and you have top secret. There are processes. It's an area of military that you need to do a lot of training. So when we bring journalists in and talk to them, we ensure that they don't see unclassified materials. And it's just for them to understand how the system works. Basically, if you go to Afghanistan, if you go to Iraqi, you will see journalists embedded with the military.
But it's not the case here.
I think I tried to encourage you when I was the commandant that we should allow journalists to have access to some of the things we do so that they can say it as it is. Because when I conducted the operation in 2007 in Angola and I came to Nigeria, what you read in the newspapers, what you hear on television and what you see are completely skewed from what we were doing.
So why did they want that to happen here, to embed journalists?
I just think it's myopism. We have a lot of illiterates in the government that don't understand that hiding things in this 21st century doesn't work anymore. They try to hide informations and they try to protect what they think is corruption to me. That's why they don't allow journalists to actually access some of these things, because this is the most corrupt country in the history of this country right now.
Markwa?
Well, sometimes, you know, there are questions as to what usually will happen. I mean, in terms of, before you went into the journalistic exploration and how the media sometimes are part of the problem. And, you know, I think there's an ongoing conversation in terms of how the media can be help, can be a source of support to the military rather than a hindrance. But before we went into that discussion, I think we're talking about something else. And for some reason now, I think that has finally escaped me. But moving forward, because we're talking about the language used there, the fact that they were branded unknown gunmen, and the fact that even though it was a very short statement, it was used 3 times, in that I think that there was some attempt to try and reinforce the fact that these are unknown gunmen in that very short statement. But I'm wondering, now that this gentleman, the officer who was taken, has been murdered and his body has been found, do you think that there is any hindrance now stopping the military in going after these people? Because in many places they will tell you that people will always dare. I mean, we've seen attacks that have been very daring, even in the most developed places that are considered very developed countries. The difference between there and here is that when you do dare that sort of attack, the chances that you're going to come home or go back or go scot-free are very slim. Here, we are yet to see how directly the people who committed an offense directly are, you know, brought to book or do not go home and get away with it. Do you think that now that there is nothing at stake in terms of how this major, his body has now been found lifeless, is there any hindrance stopping the military from getting the actual people, not just the general attack or attacks that happened days later, the actual people who committed this heinous attack and crime on the Nigeria Defense Academy?
Yeah, I think they're going to get them. No doubt about that. few days, few hours, you are going to hear that the military will get them. I know how it feels when things like this happen to colleagues. As there are times we actually disobey instructions. There are times we don't follow operational orders. When our colleagues are killed in a disgraceful manner like this. Since we know we have irresponsible people at the policy level, there are times we don't listen to them. So I can assure you on this station that the military will get them. They will go after them and they will hunt them down. And they're not going to follow all these mullah, imams, and all those people that feels that it is their birthright to Islamize this country and destroy the essence and the fabric of safety, progress of this country. So the military, they're going to disobey, they're going to go out after them. And as I repeat, in a few hours, you're going to hear, they're going to get them, and they're going to deal with them.
Okay, just one more thing as we wind down. What would you advise Nigerians? I mean, they've listened to you, several things going through different people's minds now. What would you advise them to do in terms of, in the light of all that is going on, how should they conduct themselves? What should they do such that we all can have, at least contribute in whatever way we can to have a country?
Which people are you referring to now?
Nigerian citizens who are not perhaps in the military. Regular citizens.
Are you talking about the civil society?
Civil society.
What they should do?
Yeah.
I think what they should do, for me, the failure of governance is dependent. It's like a variable. When you do a simple linear regression, the failure of a government is dependent on the failure of the civil society. So you have two variables. A failed government or irresponsible government, and you now have at the other side an irresponsible and a failed civil society. This civil society has also failed. You cannot allow somebody to do for the past 6 years what this government and the so-called cabal, whatever you call them, have been doing to this country, and the civil society has been quiet. They have to speak out. They have to come out and resist tyranny. This is tyrannical government. You have to resist it. You don't wait until maybe he leaves in 2023, then you start, everybody will now jump out and start talking. Because the damage this government is going to do in the next 2 years is going to be more than what they've done in 6 years.
All right, we have to thank you for coming on, Commodore Kunle Olawunmi. And Mr. Alfred Ononugo, I have to also personally apologize to you, but just that we needed to explore some perspectives, but we do hope that, I'm sure you do understand. Thank you very much indeed for your perspectives as well today. All right, we're back in a moment. Join us again.